Good. Matt has not joined yet.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 28th edition of the Tahoma School District Board meeting. I'm going to call it to order at 6:30. Good to see everybody. We've got 4 of the 5 board members in attendance, and Rebecca Carry-On is joining online. Should be here momentarily. So that's 4 or 5 for now. And we've got Madison here joining us today. So hello there, slating out the crowd. Great to see you. If you could lead us in the pledge, please. Great. Everybody step.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is to agenda item 2.01, which is our regular meeting agenda. May I please have a motion to approve our regular meeting agenda?
I move to approve agenda item 2.01, motion to approve regular meeting agenda.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. We know when Matt joins.
Not yet.
Okay. That brings us to agenda item 3.01, which is public comment. We've got one tonight. As a reminder, each person will be given 3 minutes per topic to comment, and a maximum of 20 minutes for any one topic will be allowed. Speakers whose comments are less than 3 minutes in length may not defer the remaining time to others. If there are multiple speakers on one topic, speakers may be limited to points of view not yet expressed. Any person wishing his or her comments retained as part of the permanent record may submit a prepared statement to the board secretary prior to the oral presentation. The president may interrupt or terminate an individual's statement when it's too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Comments or concerns relative to district personnel will not be heard in public. Rather, they should be directed through the Complaints Concerning School Personnel or Programs Policy 4220. Formal presentations must be scheduled with the superintendent in writing no later than Tuesday, noon, 1 week prior to the regular meeting. And we've got one tonight, and I'll invite Mal and Shelley to the podium.
Good evening, Board President, Directors, and Superintendent. Thank you again for the opportunity to present public comment. I am reflecting again as prior occupant of one of your seats, reflecting back on board meetings that have gone by that I've been privileged to participate in, either in present or through Zoom, which I appreciate. The 2 things that I want to reflect on, and just again reflect upon your role and the opportunity that you have to serve not just 1 or 2 constituencies, but all stakeholders within the community. One has to do with what is often termed as standard practice or routine practice of releasing items owned by the district into surplus, whether that be technology or whether it be other assets held by the district that are deemed to be in surplus. While it is standard practice, and I think that we as a district have gotten better and better about how we go through that process, as a board member, from my standpoint, and now a community member, it was always really important to know, how does that fit to the plan? What are we releasing in order to replace? Is it ahead of schedule, behind schedule? Do we hang on to it till the bitter end, or are we releasing it for purposes of upgrading? I think particularly with technology, when we're releasing large amount of assets that may not have been a part of the system for a long period of time, that age out, but then it's upon the community to restore through levies and other funds available. It's really important for us to hear that you have an anchor in that and are asking questions that we hear the responses to. So those of you who are representatives to different committees, like the Tech Advisory Committee, I would just implore for you to ask more questions. The second item has to do with things that fall under consent agenda. And oftentimes those are routine things and things that do not need to take up board time. But when there are items on the consent agenda that, in all candor, you as a board member believe that the public would benefit from being aware of, I would encourage you to call them forward under discussion, even if it's for a minute or two, for the superintendent or another representative to explain further. And in this instance, I will refer back to your last meeting where you accepted to approve a settlement with regards to a jewel litigation. I think that's relevant to our community, especially given that whatever proceeds may come to the district have no tie to how they're spent, and there may be views on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're working really, really hard to be here. And I would love it if you have concerns to reach out, because we get a public critique from you every week. And if you are this concerned, reaching out, having a meeting, maybe perhaps it would be more productive and we could actually solve some of the problems that you're having. And we're working really hard. Thank you.
That brings us to agenda item 4.01, and Madison's here to give us a school report. Welcome.
So we've got a lot of exciting things going on right now. With our climate and culture, we had the culture fair last week. We had one at Tahoma High School and Glacier Park. I know my sister was very excited to go to that, basically asking anyone to take her who was not busy. Very excited for that. And we also have Camp Casey coming up soon. It's first time since COVID, which is really exciting. There's so many high schoolers that I know personally who have volunteered to go to this, which is exciting. And then with High Expectations, Mapleview had a production of Beauty and the Beast over the weekend. I also know some people who were in that. I've heard it went really well. We the People is going to nationals. Our high school drama team is working on the Clockmakers. Dance went to state last weekend, and I know we have a lot of other clubs either going to state or sports right now that are going on and working hard as well. So got a lot of that going on.
Thank you. Okay, that'll bring us to section 5 of our agenda, and as we move into the presentation, discussion, and action items portion, I'd like to remind my fellow board directors that we have agreed to use round robin to ensure that each member has an equal opportunity to speak. We'll keep our discussion length for agenda items to 20 minutes, which I will monitor, and individual board members' discussion to 3 minutes per agenda item, which Ms. Wheeler will monitor for us. Each director's time will begin with the first word they speak, and will continue through the responses that are provided. So that takes us to agenda item 5.01, and we have a treat tonight. We're going to be joined by our Tahoma High School wrestling team, some representatives there to share some experiences from out-of-state tournaments. So I'll welcome them to the podium.
See, they're led by
With assistant coach Burnham. Sorry. Maybe just assistant coach Burnham. Here they go. All right.
Sorry, we'll go quick so we don't take up too much of your time tonight. But I'm Doug Burnham. This is my 19th year of coaching wrestling at Tahoma. So I started when I started here as a teacher. I left multiple times for different jobs, but I always have coached. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do as an employee. Part of wrestling that's really unique is that many times we travel for competitions, and we fill out paperwork to request that travel, and then we fill out how to go with the game and turn back in. And I always thought that rather than do that, I feel better bringing people to talk about it. So we did it a few years back, but haven't we did COVID. So this year, I brought some wrestlers to talk about our season, and I'll turn it over to them.
Hi, my name is Catherine Pearson. I am currently a sophomore at Tahoma High School, and I've been in the program for about 2 years. We've had an amazing season this year. We were able to take our first ever girls team to state, and we had our first ever individual placers. One other celebration is we also had our first ever woman, Lydia Eldridge, signed to Dickinson University on full ride scholarship to wrestle games. We also have an amazing outlook for next year with multiple middle schoolers coming up into the program and more people showing interest in the high school to join the program. Looking at our success, we can attribute this not only because of our amazing coaches, but because of our ability to attend overnight competitions. Attending these overnight tournaments introduces us to more challenging competitors and helps us strengthen our technique and significantly help boost our performance. The overnight tournaments also help boost team morale and help create greater unity and team bonding. Becoming closer as a team and supporting one another on and off the mat has made us this season a great success. We are very grateful to you for the support that you are giving us in building our team, because girls wrestling is such a unique sport that offers a place for all women in all aspects of life, and we are excited for our futures of girl wrestling, especially in the next year and years to come. Thank you for making overnight tournaments possible and for your continued support as we continue to build the girls wrestling program at Tahoma.
Hi, I'm Joe Solon, and I'm a junior at Tahoma High School, and I'm also a wrestler. I'm extremely grateful to be here today. I'm here with my teammates to talk about our most recent wrestling season that concluded last month. But more importantly, I want to thank you guys for approving overnight tournaments like Katie touched on. They gave us an opportunity to challenge ourselves like we can't get around here. The numerous traveling tournaments that we attended this year gave us the chance to test ourselves against some of the best wrestlers in the Pacific Northwest and compete against them. Obviously, going to these tournaments will give us a much tougher competition, and this gives us the feedback that we need in order to grow as wrestlers and as people. With tough tournaments comes tough losses, but we learned from that and we needed that, and that was a huge part in the success our team had at state. We had 8 wrestlers place in the state tournament, and of those 8, 6 of us were in the top 5, and 4 of us were in the top 3, along with 3 of our wrestlers making the state finals. This earned our team a 4th place finish, and we won a trophy because of that. And with how competitive the state tournament was, how close we were winning it, I believe our future is bright. The opportunities that are given to us through overnight and out-of-state tournaments are one of the primary reasons for our success, and they will continue to be for years to come. Thank you for listening, and expect a big thank you for approving overnight travel wrestling tournaments. We would not have had a successful season without you.
Hello, my name is Cyrus Coman. I'm a junior, and I'm currently participating in running start for River College. I began wrestling for Coach Bryson Boomer in 8th grade, and it's been an amazing journey. I haven't looked back. And some of the stuff that the sport of wrestling has taught me personally was mental toughness and persistence. However, it was a Tahoma wrestling program specifically that serves the importance of family with an emphasis of accountability for each other. Wrestling may be an individual sport, but the team moves each other forward and helps each other accomplish each other's goals. There are many opportunities in the sport to exercise these concepts and get exposed to all different walks of life. Just recently, Tahoma's wrestling program hosted the Japanese national team, consisting of the world champion at 61 kilos. It was an amazing experience to meet and interact with these individuals as athletes, but also as friends who come from a completely different walk of life. They were very polite and fun people to be around and represented their country well. Tahoma hosted wrestling practice with the national team to get some insight into their high-level technique, as well as a culture exchange, which went by very quickly due to the fact that the American high schoolers were no match. These high-level athletes train 2 times a day and have adapted their entire lifestyle to set themselves up with success in their wrestling careers. Fortunately, there's a crew of Tahoma and other wrestlers in Washington traveling to Japan from June 23rd through July 3rd, and will be given an even better worldview of Japan's wrestlers and culture. If it weren't for the Tahoma wrestling program and school board flexibility, I know that my team and I would have been blessed with the opportunity to expand our worldview and broaden our wrestling experiences. Thank you.
So in closing, that's about all we have for you. We appreciate you. Each of them don't talk about themselves very well, but like hype themselves up. But Katie's one of our first ever state places. She took it this year. This is the first we've ever had first place in the girls tournament. Joey's a 2-time state finalist when he was senior year this year, and Cyrus took third this year as a junior. So all of them have a very good shot at wrestling in college if that's something they choose to do. So thank you guys. Thank you.
Holding on a second. Cyrus, come on back. I have a good feeling they might have a couple questions for you guys.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. You are extremely well spoken, and I loved finding out more about the things that you've learned through this experience and just finding out more about the program and the benefits that you see. I would love to know, and I don't know if you're able to answer this or if it's more of a boomer question, but I'm curious, when you mentioned the homestays, the opportunity for students from Tahoma to go and do the flip, is that open to all wrestlers? Did you all have to fund that yourself? Is there an opportunity? I'm asking this question because I'm curious if all of the wrestlers on the team were able to access that if they wanted to.
So that particular trip, I'm a member of the Washington State Coach Association board, and my thing that I do in the board is I oversee culture exchange. So the culture exchange that we're going back to Japan with, when they came here, they visited many places in Washington, and it's through our Coaches Association. So when we go there, we have the teams that host it, or they have the first shot at going back, their kids do. It costs around $3,000 total. It's a 10-day trip through Japan. We stop in 4 different high schools, 5 different high schools, stay in families' homes when we're there. We really don't know what we're going to do until we actually show up. I've done it 2 other times in the past. It was open to any of our wrestlers that wanted to go. With that, you also have to be a fairly high level wrestler. We wrestle in a different style. We're wrestling Olympic style when we go there. There's 3 different styles of wrestling, 2 in the Olympics, and then America does their own style. So what you see here is called like a region or folk style. When you go to Japan, we wrestle in freestyle. And some of the kids don't ever participate in freestyle, so if they went there, it could be dangerous because you fly around a little bit freestyle. So you have to, in order to go there, 1, you have to be pretty high level, and then 2, you also have to train in freestyle.
Thank
So
you.
we
That's
have
very
5 of our Tahoma kids are going to go with me back.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you all very much for joining us tonight, and thank you for everything that you're giving back to Tahoma as well. We're just incredibly proud of you and your accomplishments and all of the things that you're demonstrating for all the other kids in school in terms of grit, determination. The list could just go on and on.
There's a couple things that you mentioned that I wanted to highlight. Katie, you mentioned on and off the mat, and that really resonated with me. And I know you all performed really well on the mat. Obviously, you pitched really well in state, and lots of accolades. But we also know what tremendous sportsmanship and quality character is built in this program. And we're really proud of you and the character that you have, and the character you show to your opponents, to your teammates, and everything else. It's just really wonderful to see that. So we really appreciate that. Boomer, you said something. You said something about writing. You write the application, and then you go, and then you write up a summary, and you give it back to us. And you hit the nail on the head. I was thinking about that all day today. What a treat it is to hear firsthand that you all take the time to come in here and let us know how it went and what it meant to you and what you got out of it, what you learned. It really, that is home with me for sure, to be able to hear it firsthand. It's so much different than reading it on a page, so really appreciate you all coming in.
And you can read my handwriting, can't I read it?
Yeah, well, I do all right.
The Boomer, two parts from me. One, Cindy and I got an opportunity to go watch you guys when the Japanese national team was here. And so that was my first exposure to the different styles of wrestling and how a match could end in about 4 seconds. Because they're just absolutely amazing. But kudos to you and to Coach Feist and the rest of the adults in the program. Because you walk the walk of developing young women and men, as opposed to just wrestlers. So thank you guys for what you've built. The board would love if they could get a picture with you guys in the aisle, right up here, if you don't mind coming on.
Let's do it.
Good. Front and center.
Good.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. That brings us to agenda item 5.02, which is Puget Sound Skills Center Student Recognition Awards.
Mr. Martin Barber.
I saw Mr. Barber say,
I'm Mr. Barber. I'm hoping that you can come up with our kids. And if you wouldn't mind giving us a 60 seconds high-level context setter for Puget Sound Skills Center. And then each of the kids can chat a little bit about what they're doing there.
Sure, go on.
I apologize, I didn't have anything prepared, I didn't realize.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I'm trying not to return that. Yeah. So Puget Sound Skills Center, when I think of partnerships, this is a perfect example of partnerships. It's not just something that we sort of say, oh, we offer this as well. We take a look at what the needs of the kids are and say, what would be perfect for these kids? And I always think, you know, and I'll be honest with you, there's been times where I've been driving down to Puget Sound Skills Center at the last minute because we've had a bus take off for a child that came out of a class late. I'm driving down and I'm thinking, this is a lot of work. And then I see, and I think I picked up a few of you once or twice, but it's a lot of work, but as soon as I see the students in the program, any of that work disappears. I would do it 1,000 times. And I always think, if that's my child, and my child says, Dad, there's a program that I really want to do, but Tahoma doesn't offer it, how do we as adults ensure that it happens? So with that, I'm going to invite these four up. They're all in four different programs, two of them are in the same. So please come on up and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your program.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Bettis. I do the Puget Sound Skills Center Marine Biology program, Brain Tech. We have a classroom right on the beach where we do field study and help run a coho salmon hatchery. Over the winter, we've been studying oceanography, and Charlie's learning how to chart courses as well as volcanology. And then as spring comes, we're going to refire up our saltwater tanks and make our own little tide pools where we do research on animals on our beaches. It's been a lot of fun. It's probably the best part of my day.
My name is Dawn Chase. I am a second year PSSC student. I did the CNA course last year. I received my CNA license. And this year I'm in the Biomedical Health and Global Research Program. It's a very good, more advanced class if you took the biomedical program at Tahoma. I was also in sports medicine for 3 years, so it's been a very good prep for this. We do a lot of fun stuff, like just recently I got to genetically modify a E. coli bacteria to have a jellyfish gene to glow in the dark. And then we broke down all of the E. coli down to the protein so that we could weigh it on a molecular level. So it's a very fun program, and I'm very grateful that Tahoma has this partnership with the Skills Center because I've made relationships and experiences that I would never have gotten if the Skills Center was an option. So.
My name is Brandon Gerard, and I am a first year at the AME program at PSSC. Essentially, our program is built around the Core Plus curriculum in Boeing, which is a training program that involves riveting, blueprint reading, AutoCAD, and essentially our program was actually just first launched last year, so we've been in the progress of developing it, which is why I have been chosen as Leadership Award due to my contributions to developing the program.
Hi, I'm Ella Kness. I'm also in the Marine Technology program. And we will learn about aquarium and hatchery management, boat handling, species classification, just a bunch of other weird stuff. So yeah, it's really fun.
Questions?
Hi everyone. I had the wonderful chance of visiting the Puget Sound Skills Center, and I see why you enjoy it as much as you do. I'm so happy that you guys have the opportunity to find something that's so interesting to you and then go dive deep into it there. I'm just curious, how, any of you, how do you see yourself using what you're learning at the Puget Sound Skills Center? How do you see yourself using that in your career?
Well, so I already have my CNA license, which gives me a little bit of a foot in the door. Also, the teachers at the Skills Center are very industry-based, meaning they have connections. Every year at the end of May, to receive credit at the Skills Center, you have to do a mock interview and a portfolio read-through. And to build this portfolio, it's very professional. You have to do your resume, skills, reference list, what you've been doing. They have their own 13-year plan stuff that also involves it, but they have these connections in the industry. I know Boeing just recently had a whole bunch of internship interviews. I myself am applying to a research position at Seattle Children's over the summer, which is a paid internship that I wouldn't have been able to do if it wasn't for Dr. Noel, my teacher. And it just teaches you a lot of knowledge that you can take and then go far with.
I have, a brag moment for you, and then a comment that I wanted to make. But a couple of these awards, the ones that say most inspirational, I just want to point out that those are chosen by their peers, which I think is super special, that their peers see them as leaders and inspiration, and really, really cool that you were picked out of your peers that way. And then just a quick comment. What I've found in any career, I believe that true happiness and success comes to the intersection of three different things. Something that you're good at, something that the marketplace needs, and something that you're passionate about. And I'm so thankful for the opportunities that the Puget Sound Skills Center provides for you to do that. Obviously, these are things that you're good at, you're being successful, you're recognized for that. You have the marketplace needs these things clearly because there's opportunities out there, and I can just see the passion coming from you. So I'm so impressed and proud of the work that you're doing there and how you're representing Tahoma and where this is going to lead you. So congratulations.
And I'd just say thank you guys very much for coming here. The board has created a certificate of achievement and signed them for each of you, and they also would love to get a picture with you guys up here. And Mr. Barber.
And Mr. Hanson.
Hey, you guys can come. You don't come on.
All right.
Thank you guys.
And the meeting definitely runs long. Don't feel like you need to hang out and watch anymore.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for saying that, yeah. And that brings us to agenda item 5.03, which is an action item to approve resolution 2023-05, work at 05, our asset preservation program. Assistant Director of Operations, Kyle Hood, is making his way to the podium to answer some questions for us with the presentation. Before he starts, may I please have a motion to approve agenda item 5.03, resolution 2023-05.
I need to approve agenda item 5.03, move to approve resolution 2023-05 asset preservation.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Easier for discussion.
Good evening. I have for you the APP Asset Preservation Program. This is done annually. It's a little earlier this year, which is actually on time. I did it late last year because of it coming out of COVID and whatnot, but this time we're on time. This has to do with evaluating specific buildings, and in some cases, sections of buildings that have received state funding. We just want to make sure that we are taking care of our facilities. The state also wants us to make sure we're taking care of our facilities. So if you go through that 38-page document, there's some notes that are from previous years, things that we want to make sure that we remember, so we're tracking. So updated notes for this year as well, and then it goes through, for instance, you look at Glacier Park, one of the sections is the covered play area. So that doesn't necessarily mean everything's encapsulated in just that play area, but that's just a section.
Questions? Director Perry?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Kyle, appreciate everything you're doing. The report was excellent. Overall, outstanding report for the school district. I did see some areas of, around 63% for certain particular areas. I mean, what are our actions after this? We see this report. Do we go out and fix those, or what's our plan?
Yeah, great question. It really depends on the item that's being looked at. So, for instance, our HVAC system. Last year was not great in some of the buildings that we're looking at. And I'll side note for a second. I wish you were here so I could see you. I feel like I'm talking to the ether here. Our HVAC system was renovated and upgraded over the summer, so that was a large ticket item that had been in the planning for a while. And then some of the smaller items like paint chipping on the side of the building, those are items we'll be looking at over the summer that we can address in the immediate nature. So it really depends on how large a project each individual item is. And then I'll also make a note that some of them, like our HVAC systems at the high school and Lake Wilderness, while they're new, we're still working through some of the bugs. So I just want to make sure there's notes in there that we are currently addressing those items.
Got it.
I recall a few years ago we put together, I don't know what we called it, but it was like a capital needs wish list kind of a document that was something similar to this, but prioritized and so forth. And when I was looking through this and looking at the assets that had perhaps lower scores, they rang a bell to me as being on the roadmap for that, on that capital needs document that we put together. As you went through this, Kyle, was there anything that was a surprise that stood out to you? That, okay, that's new. We're going to need to get that on the roadmap.
I wouldn't necessarily say surprised. I didn't try to make it habit to be in the building, so I know what the large items are. Some of the smaller items, it was nice to have discussions where those hit my radar. Those aren't the multi-million-dollar ticket items. That might be a faucet outside of the building. Interestingly, we are always having that list of what we would like to accomplish and what we can do in the short term and the near term. We've been working with Bill Lori on that. Under Lori, my learning of this position, so that list has been reviewed, the one I think that you're referring to, and then looking at the list that we currently have and what we can do out of the current budget and focus budget.
Anything else? Okay. So I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Kyle. Don't go far. We're going to move on to agenda item 5.04, which is the first reading of revised policy 6900, facilities planning. And voila, there's Mr. Good once again to discuss with us what's going on here.
a second for the pop up?
There it is. So this is closely tagged to what we just discussed, facilities planning. There is no substantial change. It does not change our current practice. This is just minor revision of words, taking out gender-specific language and taking out some implications of sentences. So no change of our practice here.
You answered my question. I wanted to make sure the asset preservation program was the same thing as what they referred to here, so appreciate that.
Yeah, this one has a little bit more detail. So when I was talking about the future planning, some of our numbers that are received from the Educational Data Solutions class, projecting in the future what our buildings are going to look like as far as capacity.
Other questions, Tim? You good? Okay. Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 5.05, which is our finance enrollment report. And Chief Accountant Bill Hernandez is making his way to the podium to report out to us, answer some questions. Bill?
Good evening. Thanks, AJ. If you can go to the next page, page 2. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Taking a look at the expenditure side of things to start. February expenditures finished under budget by roughly $567,000 due to two primary factors. The first being lower than anticipated certificate staff spending, and the second being spending in regards to general supplies. In regards to certificated spending, cert wages were lower than budget due to lower than expected substitute teacher spending, as well as spending required for staff to work during the planning periods. That's a little bit easier to identify than the latter part of why general supplies finished lower than budget. This is something that during our monthly meeting, Director Miller, Superintendent Hanson, Lori, Tracy Krause, and myself sat in Superintendent Hanson's office and went into detail as to why this happened. And it really came down to a combination of two things. The first being timing differences. So expenditures that were historically spent in February would be spent later on in the school year, particularly in August. And the second being a true reduction in spending compared to last year, therefore what we had budgeted. For example, in Puget's budget last July, COVID was still around, and it's especially relevant in February last year. Looking back at historical numbers, we spent roughly $150,000 last February on COVID-related items such as waiving class fees for students, which is what we did last February, increased our amount of food purchase as part of the federal free meal program. It's no longer around. In addition to the actual true COVID-related cost of additional PPE. So that being said, that's why we finished under budget in terms of our expenditures this month. AJ, if you can go to the very last slide, slide 11. Jumping over to the revenue side of things, revenue finished right on track. If you take a look at our, zoom out a little bit, keep going, perfect. Maybe zoom in just a little bit, focusing on the current year, perfect right there. If you take a look at that blue 22-23 line and compare it to last year's green 21-22 line, February is about the time where we see enrollments of top off and slowly decline for the rest of the school year. In part due to our dropout rate in high school, which is slightly offset by an inflow of students at the other levels. But February is about the time where we see this trend continues, same thing as prior year. One thing to notice too, if you compare our 22-23 blue line to the other darker blue 19-20 line for February, we are back on track. Actually, we're slightly above, for March, we are slightly above our COVID number. So again, it's been fluctuating all throughout the year, but that's going back to above where we were in March 2020. Any questions?
Not for me. I mean, again, we meet beforehand, and I just always appreciate that process and us coming together to ask questions, understand things. To some degree that informs your remarks tonight. But I appreciate the work that you put in to get ready for that meeting and for this meeting. So it's great.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah,
Is here?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so what drives the budget line? I mean, you look at that line; it's pretty high. I mean, being the sales guy in the room, usually I like under sell. So you usually like to see that red line below the blue line. What drove that budget line number from our analysis?
Yeah, good question. And before I jump into that, just to provide some context as to why that budget line is flat, because take a look at this, anything you say, okay, well, that doesn't look right. Basically, we have to budget and provide OSPI an average enrollment for the entire school year. So from September through June, OSPI wants to know where are you going to be if you were to average your enrollment for the entire school year. That being said, our enrollment is pretty flat, right? We started at the beginning of the year, sort of tend to peak in October with the max enrollment, and then slightly decline for the remainder of the year, except for a slight spike in January, February. That being said, we get funded based on our actual average enrollment for the school year. So that's the difference between why we have a flat line, which is our projected average, and an actual average that varies throughout the school year. A lot of time our enrollment is heavily based off of our outside consultant, our first report, and he does an awesome job of going into significant detail, looking at enrollment trends not only in our school district, but at surrounding school districts. They take a look at birth rates, take a look at housing that is going to be built in certain areas of both within and outside of our school district, just all of these different factors that go into his final enrollment projection of, hey, he thinks we are going to finish at in this case, about 8,600 students, full-time students. That being said, we rely on his expertise when we come up with that budget. And back when we do prepare this budget in July of the prior year, we say, okay, Marv knows more than anyone about this type of budgeting process. We're going to rely on his number, plug that in, and we'll wait and see. Does that help to answer the question?
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Hey Jay, can you go back to slide 2?
Yeah.
So I think one of the pieces I want to acknowledge is the challenge with that estimate column and the things that you have control over and the things that you don't. And an example of that happening right now is what's going on in Olympia with the legislature and the development of the next biennial budget down there. There are items up there that could be impacted either direction by what's happening in Olympia. And so I think it's important for us to acknowledge that there's a portion of this, there are some items that are out of your control. So we'll be anxiously watching obviously are anxiously watching what's happening in Olympia and recognize that it can have an impact on what happens there.
What's that?
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Phil. Okay. That brings us to section 6 of our agenda. Moving right along to agenda item 6.01, which is an action item to approve our consent agenda. May I please have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I move to approve agenda item 6.01, action to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Takes us to agenda item 6.02, which is an action item to approve our certificated personnel report. May I please have a motion to approve the certificated personnel report?
I move to approve agenda item 6.02, action to approve certificated personnel.
Second.
As revised.
Second, as revised.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote aye. Thanks, Matt. Motion passes 5-0. Agenda item 6.03 is next. It's an action item to approve our classified personnel report. May I please have a motion to approve the classified personnel report?
Move to approve agenda item 6.03, action to approve classified personnel report as
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Which takes us to agenda item 6.04, an action item to approve our coach personnel report. May I please have a motion to approve our coach personnel report?
Move to approve agenda item 6.04, action to approve coach personnel report as revised.
And a second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, President Bill, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, just for the audience in the room and those online, just for everybody's back, it looks like we just passing through without thinking. But in executive session, we really thoroughly review these, and with HR, we do a good job of making sure these reports are evaluated and the personnel, are vetted properly with the work of HR and trust with HR. So, just want to make that clear for everybody listening on. So, really good job, HR, and we look forward to moving forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion passes 5-0, which brings us to agenda item 7.01, adjournment at 7:17. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks to our Boy Scouts for being here. Last day. It's like